Hey guys, this is Steven again. I made a video about a year and a half ago called My Serial Killer Book Collection, and there was a request for me to make another video on some of the rarer books or some of my favorite books, so I'm going to give that a shot. And as you can see, I built some bookshelves for my library. So when I put these up there, I kind of put them in order of by year of the killings. So, as you can see, you got the Burke and Hare murders, and then the Benders, then the Austin servant girl annihilator, then Jack the Ripper, on down to H.H. Holmes, Joseph Vacher, Theo Durant, and the Axeman of New Orleans, and on and on and on. So what I'm going to do is just show you some of my rarer books, and feel free to comment afterwards or ask me if I have certain books. I do have, I think, 775 of them at my last count. So there's not a lot that I'm missing, but there are some out there that I don't have. So here we go. I got this one, Burke and Hare, The Resurrection Men. Fairly rare. Then we got Death for Dinner, about the Bender family, along with the Bloody Benders. And then we have, a bunch of Jack the Ripper books. They're not very, very rare, but down on to H.H. Holmes, we have right there the Torture Doctor. One of the earlier bios on him, but actually one of the better ones too. And we got Joseph Vacher, the Axeman. There's Ready to Hang. It was a guy who had a bunch of murders in New Orleans, Louisiana, and one of the chapters was probably one of the earliest documents on the Axemen in New Orleans. So then we go on. Right there you can see a first edition hardback of Killer, a journal of murder about Carl Panzram. The thin one right beside it is very rare as well, Every Mother's Nightmare. It's about Harold Jones. He was actually a kid and murdered two other kids in Wales. I want to say in the 20s, late 20s. A lot of people actually think that after he was released from prison, he became the Hammersmith News murderer. And then got some on Albert Fish, and then we go to the really rare ones on Peter Curtin. I actually have all three of his earlier bios. The Monster of Dusseldorf, I got both editions right there. And then I got Peter Curtin, Search for a Sadist, I think it's called, and then The Monsters of Weimar, which is Dr. Carl Berg's version on Peter Curtin, and then Theodore Lessing's bio on Fritz Harman. You see above there I got one of the newer biographies on him as well. And we got a couple on Gordon Northcott, and then The Mail Order Serial Killer is about Harry Powers. Insanity and Injustice, which is one of a rare book on the schoolgirl killer in Australia, Arnold Soodman. Then you have about 5 of them there on the Cleveland Torso Killer. Then a couple on Neville Heath, The Trial of Neville Heath and Portrait of a Sadist, Rotten to the Core. We have Confess or Die, that's a very rare paperback on William Herons. Then you got 2 on Eddie Leonsky. Then we go on to John George High, The Acid Killer. I got the trial of him. And then John Christie, The Rillington Place Killer. I got The Trials of Evans and Christie, The Man on Your Conscience, The Two Killers of Rillington Place. All of them are fairly rare. The fourth one, the green book that you can't really see, is Medical and Scientific Investigations into the Christie Case, which is a super scarce book. I actually found it. A library in Texas was selling it, and I bought it. Paid a pretty good penny, but it was worth it to me. And it will go down here. I got I think it's a second edition of Killer Fiction about Gerard Schaefer. All the crazy stories that he wrote over the years. And then Dean Corll's books, Urge to Kill, We Have a Sacrifice Unto Me, I just bought that one. Terror in the Adirondacks, about Robert Garrow. And then on to the Juan Corona Murders, The Road to Yuba City, that's a classic true crime book. Then we got Legally Sane about Mark Allen Smith. I just bought that one a couple months ago. The Limits of Sanity, very rare book. Some on Derek Percy, and then on to the Manson murders. Then we'll skip over here again. I have Five to Die, Terror in Ypsilanti. That is John Norman Collins. Another book on him is The Michigan Murders. I have that one as well, but it's a paperback. Then you got Bible John. Actually, I think the only 4 books that have been on him. We got Martin, the Gaffney Strangler, Leroy Martin. First edition hardback of Zodiac. The 3 books that are out on Richard Speck. And on to Brady and Henley. Then I got Who Was Jack the Stripper. That is in correlation with that book I was telling you about over there about Harold Jones. He wrote this book speculating that he could be the Jack the Stripper, the Hammersmith News murderer. And then Jack of Jumps and Found Naked and Dead are about the same case. The Knick-Knack Man, William McDonald, the Sydney Mutilator, Ed Gein, and down to Peter Manuel. A couple rare ones there. And we'll drop down here to Ted Bundy. Yes, I got the Phantom Prince. Like I said before, I found it in a flea market for $3. Probably the most exciting find I've ever had. The Ultimate Evil, probably my favorite book of all time in the true crime, serial killer genre. You get a chance, read that book. Crazy, crazy good. There's Off the Wall. Final Truth about Pee Wee Gaskins, and a couple more. Slaughter in Carolina about him. Young Blood. Then we go on to the Gacy, John Wayne Gacy murders, The Fall of the House of Gacy. No, I do not have a question of doubt. That book, it comes up for sale every now and then, but it's way out of my price league. You're talking, usually it goes for anywhere from $800 all the way up to $1,200. So one day I'll get it though. Then we got the Yorkshire Ripper, Deliver Us from Evil. That's a really good book, the best book I think on that case. The Toolbox Killers, Bittaker and Norris, The Monster of Florence. And then we'll skip over once more. BTK, Murder Mac, that's on Bittaker and Norris as well. Has the audio transcripts from the infamous tapes they made of their victims in the back of that van. Very disturbing stuff. Got Burn Judy Byrne down here. Then on to the Ear-Onsies, Harry Rapist, Original Night Stalker. I got that new one, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, written by Patton Oswalt, the comedian's wife who died. It was very, very good, but it seemed to me like half the story was about her life as well, which was very interesting. But if you just want to, a book that's just about, the original Night Stalker, this one right here is really good. Doesn't miss out on anything. I got The Lost Child. That's a very good one. We move on to The Atlanta Child Murders. The List. That was a very, very good book. The best book on that case. Down to some books about Clifford Olson. Then Dennis Nilsen, Richard Ramirez, the Charles Ng and Letter Lake Murders. And then you got down here some The Chosen One. Very, very rare, about Javed Iqbal, the Pakistani child killer who supposedly killed 100 victims. SLK, Scott Lee Kimball. That one's been out of print. You rarely ever find one for sale. So when I found one, it was fairly cheap and snatched it up. Then you got, Jeffrey Dahmer, Tommy Lynn Sells, Robert Pickton, and skip over here again. The 3 books on John Wayne Glover, Chikatilo, The Green River Killer, When the Monster Comes Out of the Closet. If you know anything about true crime books, that one's extremely rare. About Wesley Allen Dodd. And Adolfo de Jesus Constanzo to Ivan Milat. Fred Rosemary West, Arthur Shawcross, Bobby Joe Long. And we'll go down. These are just general books on serial killers. That last one, Catching Serial Killers, has a couple chapters on John Norman Collins. That's why I got it. Same as these ones. They're all pretty much general. That Murder for Profit, that has a couple chapters on one on Fritz Harman and one on Jean-Baptiste Trotman, another killer from France way back. Rise of the Black Serial Killer, that was really good. Studies of Criminal Responsibility and Limited Responsibility. I think it's from like 1908. That has one of the first studies of Jesse Pomeroy in it, the boy fiend killer. And then we'll go across here. I'll let you look at the paperbacks real quick. The Girl in the Belfry there about Theo Durant, pretty rare. The Murder of Childhood on Robert Black, extremely rare. It just goes on and on and on. I won't show you them all, but we'll skip over to here. I have both volumes of Sadism and Masochism by Wilhelm Steckel, who has a bunch of case studies of serial murders around the world. Then Man into Wolf, and then a first edition printing of Psychopathia Sexualis by Richard von Krafft-Ebing. It's one of my favorite books. Then you got Cold North Killers. That was really, really good. I think I gave a glowing review on Amazon of that book. That was a really good book. Someone Cry for the Children, Black Dahlia, Gilles de Rye, and on and on and on. And then we'll go up to the very top. I got another one on John Christie, The Case of Timothy John Evans, by the Honorable Justice Brabin. That's very rare. And then I have, actually I just got this one in, The Dark Strangler by Earl Leonard Nelson. And then Time 17 about the Zodiac. It's got a lot of crazy graphs and everything. A mathematician wrote it. I think he's still a suspect in it. Then I got a middle section here that has some of my favorites. Got the Holmes Ptezel case. I think that one was 1895 or so. Then I got the Acid Bath Murderers. And I got one from around the 1840s, The Harp's Head, a legend. A book who, one of the side stories in it is about the Hart brothers, Micaiah and Wiley, one of the first known North American serial killers. Then I got The Girls in Nightmare House, about H.H. Holmes. Pretty rare find. Then I got the Magna Carta, finally. I don't think I had this in my first video. I just got it maybe a year and a half ago. The Sadist, about Peter Kürten, by Dr. Carl Berg. That is the rarest book that I have. And also the following one is an original copy of The Trial of Thomas Piper, the Boston Belfry Murderer. As you can see, it's really old. I think we can look in it. I think it's 1886, the copyright on it. So that's one of my favorites as well. Other than that, folks, I mean, most of them, I got the Letters to Gacy, and they call him Mr. Gacy. And I got a newer copy of The Benders in Kansas up there. But like I said, I'd appreciate some comments, and if you have any suggestions on or questions of whether or not I have anything, or you need to get this book or that book or anything like that, just hit me up, leave a comment, and I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.